Here's a Stromberg Carlson. It doesn't say it on the bottom of it, but I'm about 99% sure this is a model 1101H. I've got one I own in my personal collection exactly like this, and I got this one to be honest with you, I got this one to get some parts off of, which were the knobs, and basically turn around and sell the thing, because it'd be cheaper to buy the whole radio and turn around and resell it than it would to buy the parts that I need. So, but I'm gonna sell this as a working set. It just won't have the original knobs on it. These are the knobs that came off of my personal set. This one did come with the original knobs, but they're going on my personal set. But anyway, I just wanted to demonstrate. I have the knobs off of it for a reason. And that is because when I received this set in the mail, it was packed pretty well, and the box it came in was about the correct size to ship it in. It was a little bit smaller than what I would probably pack it in, but the lady I got this from online, she packed it pretty well, but I'm going to demonstrate what will happen when you ship a wooden tube radio a lot of times, and it gets thrown around. The joints where it holds together at will come loose, and what you end up with is a radio that comes apart in a couple of pieces like this one here. There's nothing attached to the bottom here. By the way, this has no tag or ID label up under the bottom of it. It's missing for some reason, but this cabinet, which has a bottom piece of wood like a base plate type deal, the chassis sits on top of it and bolts to that. This part here where it glues together is completely loose and comes right off. So we'll need to get our trusty wood glue over here and correct that situation. So I think first things first, we need to get this cabinet back in one piece. Okay, with this top shell removed, it's laying upside down. Here's the chassis and the bottom base plate that we'll need to attach this back to with our wood glue. And you know, just to give you a visual of the chassis, it's quite dusty inside, and the dial string has either come off or broken, as you can see right here. Yeah, it's broken. I remember when I got my Stromberg Carlson one exactly like this, it had the same issue. The dial string was broke on it, and I think that's pretty common on these sets. But the dial pointer was kind of hanging off the back of it here, but I retrieved it and put it back where it's supposed to go, so at least we do have the correct dial pointer. And I'll have to dig around in my junk and see if I have any more dial cord left. I'm not sure if I have any more, but if not, we'll have to try to dig up a piece so we can restring it. And as you can see, it's quite dusty, but if this set's anything like the one I've got, it's a very good performer. This is a 6-tube set, and it's got a tuned RF stage, and these are very sensitive and very good performing radios. And this speaker here is almost in pristine condition for as old as this set is. And I noticed that this one looks built a little bit differently than the one I've got, so it may be this may be a different could be a different model number. I think it's probably the same one, but I'm not 100% sure on that, because I noticed some differences in the chassis a little bit. But let's get to work on this thing and see what's going on with it. I'm going to try to unbolt this chassis from the bottom base plate here and get it glued back in our cabinet. Alright, we've got our Stromberg Carlson case and its body cast, so to speak. We've got these, I got clamps running two different ways. I'm going this way and this way to help hold it securely until it dries, and when it dries we'll pull it out of the body cast. Alright, so while the cabinet's drying, I think I'm gonna take this down to the air compressor and blow it out and get all this dust out of here. And one good thing about these radios is the chassis is made out of aluminum, so there won't be any rusty chassis on this one, which is kind of a nice change. Alright, so I mentioned the dial string broke on this, so what I like to do, this black dial cord here is going to be the new dial cord. So what I like to do is take it and lay it alongside the old dial cord, and we'll run it on out and cut it to the correct length. Now, it's not too critical that you get this the exact length of the other. I always err on the side of being a little long, because you can always take it off, but you can't really put it back on. You might could tie this together, but you wouldn't want to tie it together where it runs over these rollers, or you know, whenever it runs on something that would be kind of critical, and a knot would not roll over these or the tuning capacitor pulley very well. So I always try to cut this pretty close to where it'll you know, where you can make your little loops like this, you know, and you'll have enough extra on each end. And like I said, if you cut it a little bit long, you can always take up the slack, because you're gonna have a dial cord spring that ties off into here. You can always stretch it a little bit more if you need to. Okay, so I have my own personal unit here, and the case is finished drying. That's here. So what I want to do here is the schematic doesn't list the dial string diagram, and I'm not really sure why, but it doesn't. And my dial string reference that I have on my computer doesn't list it either. So I remember when I bought this almost 2 years ago, the dial string was broken in it, and after if my memory serves me correct, after remembering what after I bought this, I remember I had to kind of figure it out on my own, and I got it done. But I think it'll just be easier. I'll go ahead and pull the chassis on mine, and we'll compare the dial strings and get this dial string restrung, and at least that part functioning again. Okay, I'm going to note the dial string layout here. And I've got about what looks like to be about 2 to 2.5 turns. But I think on that radio, I want to say it had 3. But I don't think you could go wrong for overwrapping. And then it goes up here and goes around to the back here, your pointer, over to that roller and down to that roller and back on to the tuning capacitor. I would assume that that would go around here to here. but everything pretty much ties off to the spring. And one other thing I want to note too is there is differences in the radios. They're kind of small, but my personal one doesn't have Stromberg Carlson on the dial scale. The font is different and the color is different. This is a glass dial scale, whereas this is plexiglass. This part is sort of a reddish burgundy maroon color, and this is more of a goldish color. It's subtle differences, but not very much difference. The case on this one here, since it has Stromberg Carlson on the dial scale, it does not have Stromberg Carlson on the case. However, this one has Stromberg Carlson with what looks like a water slide decal on the front between right here. I'm not going to turn it around right now, but on my personal one it says Stromberg Carlson here in sort of gold water slide decal type of a ordeal there. Alright, we got her all strung back up, and got our dial pointer, and everything is moving just fine. And just like mine, it's very easy to turn. Very easy tuning. So what I try to usually do whenever I do one of these, and even when I don't have to restring them, sometimes I put a drop of oil on each roller, and the tuning capacitor's got a bearing. It's usually got a bearing off the front of it. I always usually oil those bearings, and it just makes it a little easier and keeps things from wearing out, reduces the friction, so to speak, and makes it tune a little easier. But this one tunes easy pretty much anyway. So anyway, yeah, we're good to go here. Alright, we got all of our capacitors replaced, and the radio's working great. Yeah, that's a safety capacitor for the across the line cap, and all of our caps replaced. So
exactly what happens when you rely on your credit card
and on and playing
to protect your identity. I mean, sure, your bank can help detect credit card fraud.
We finally got 1340 back on the air.
God is great, God is good, God is
so we can have our God is great, God is good.
That's gonna be protection that you can get.
I'll turn this light off, but we've got so much electrical interference around here lately. I need to call the power company and find out why these lines are buzzing so bad. It rained about almost a week ago and it's still buzzing. Used to buzz for a day or two and then stop, but it's hasn't gone away. And it's not going to pick up anything on the lower end of the band because of either the static, or there's just nothing on the lower end of the band around here much.
How did that happen? He said, I'm going to show you how it happened. Have the faith in God. Believe it.
There's some more preaching. Alright, so the electronics are playing good. So now we need to move back to our cabinet. We got our cabinet all glued back together. And on the inside here we got everything glued back in here. So it's holding together good, the top to the bottom. There's a little split in the wood here, but all that got glued back together. So that's on the inside, so it's not too big of a deal. Cabinet's a little banged up, but I'm just going to turn around and resell this thing. It's not a big deal. So I think we'll put the chassis back in the cabinet and put her back together. Alright, we're back in the cabinet playing.
We are encouraged in the faith, and those living in darkness see and are drawn to the light of his truth. Letters and email from listeners.
New York Times and television exec. He ever lived to.
There's our wrap station about 45 miles away. Our Hispanic station coming through all the buzz electrical interference. About 45 miles away.
I mean, we need this to be good. Come on, we can wait. Can you close the door?
The sports/ESPN radio station about 50 miles away.
So when you pray the word.
These are pretty good performing radios. I mean, most AM radios that I get pick up the local 3, and that's about it. But this one's picking up about 5 or 6 stations 40-50 miles away, and so that tuned RF stage does a really good job of pulling out the stations. And these little radios, if you run across one, pick it up. They're great. They're good performers. And like I said, I've had mine for about 2 to 3 years, the other one, and it's been a great radio. But I don't need 2 of the same model, so.
Writing on behalf of the Father, saying, I urge you,
So these are a good little radio, and this one's playing good. So.
Elizabeth, I can't even get Hasselback said something.
Anyway, there's my about 1947 Stromberg Carlson 1101. And I believe this is an H model, but it may not be. It doesn't have a sticker on it, but it's pretty close to the one I've got. There's some slight differences. The name badging and the dial. The dial scale is a little bit different, but everything else is pretty much exactly the same. So anyway, thanks for watching.